process. And of course, I'm from North Carolina, so we're talking.
Yeehaw.
Yes, go Tar Heels. We're talking, 4,000 or 5,000 miles. So we had a lot of communication on the phone, through email. So he would send me these little short video clips of the scenes, various scenes as he was recording, 3 or 4 minute scenes. So it really captured, the feel of the movie, the characters. I can connect with the characters, identify with the various plot lines. So I did get that feeling of what it was about. I kind of wanted, I got that mood. So I did kind of, play off that and ran with that with my composition. So.
And he worked cheap.
Pretty cheap, I mean, it's like.
I mean, at this point, I think he's working not to get a wedgie or a noogie. He's a little
don't
brother.
remind him how cheap he worked.
I'm very cheap.
Yeah, well, that's the thing though, because the new modern age, and I mean this studio is an example of the new modern age that we can do a lot more with a lot less. When you're collaborating from a great distance, I mean, it's got to be frustrating for you, Jeff, because sometimes you just want to reach out and be like, no, this is what I'm talking about at this moment. But then you have to wait for him to get the email, the time zone. I mean, did this ever get to the point of, for either one of you, frustrating working through distance?
Nope.
I don't think so. I mean, that's one thing that's wonderful about Jeffrey, I think, as a director and as a creative force, is that he's very patient. And, he basically gave me free reign and said, I trust you, you do whatever you want to do. And I never felt like he was, critical or trying to, fit the music into a box or something. So he was, very patient and very kind of liberal with what I could do. So, and that kind of freed me up to just be more creative.
Well, now that we're talking about the actual mood and the theme and the setting of this, like if I had to ask you as far as an emotional side of things, what would you say that this film, Trade Winds, applies to the most when it talks about the human condition? I mean, what feelings are we really going to elicit here?
It's definitely inspiration. It's not really faith-based, but a lot of inspiring. There's family values in there. Reflecting back on our youth and what the father teaches the daughter, and how those values kind of help guide us through our life. Just like when our parents passed away, they're still an inspiration. In other words, they're still in us. And one of the values of the film is that the people who have passed away are still alive in our heart, and they're still affecting us day to day.
Well, I mean, working in a place like Maui, the ancestral tie, very deep.
Sure.
I mean, did you notice this in even the actors when they started to identify with these characters?
Yeah.
They were like, "Hey, I kind of get this."
Yeah, and then when they get it, then their real feeling comes out.
No.
Yeah.
And is that, like, as far as, because you're not only in front of the paper, but you're behind the camera. I mean, is there ever a moment where you're just like, God, this is exactly how I wrote it?
Oh my goodness, yes.
Wow.
And there's times that really blew me away. One of the exciting things in being a cinematographer and shooting on the set is you never really know what's going to happen. Oh, well, one example, Shaggy, is that the film is called Trade Winds, okay, because there's a message behind the trade winds. And we were filming, and we film at different locations. Like we would go out to, there's a nice lookout in Hana, I forget the mile marker, that has a beautiful view of the bay. And so we have our 2 actors there, and they're looking out on this bay. And then we shot the close-ups of them just at Kanaha Beach Park, right next to the airport. So they come in and they have a little script. It's only 45 minutes, and she's talking about the trade winds. And one of the dialogue, as she says, is, "Can you feel it?" And then Sid says, "What, the wind?" And then she said, it's not just the wind, those are trade winds. Just as they're saying that, a big gust of wind blew their hair off. I'm on my camera, and my camera is going back and forth. And I'm just holding on to the camera. So right when Sid, or Dylan Bodie, the actor, playing opposite Michaela Yamamoto, who's Michelle, right when they're talking about that wind, a big gush of wind came. And we kept it for the final edit. Even though my camera is moving back and forth, I kept it in the final edit, because then that way the audience feels the wind.
God, now how would you describe? Because it seems to me like people worried about shaky cameras and stuff. Like, how would you describe as far as your cinematography style? Are you a very clean cut, steady cam guy, or are you more of a run and gun guerrilla? What happens happens.
Mostly tripod. We use monopod. I use Steadicam. I use an 18-foot crane. I use dolly and track. So a little bit of combination, but most of them were shot on tripod and monopod.
Oh, so you're very into the steady camera look.
Yeah, I love the Steadicam. There's a hiking scene when I'm walking for 45 seconds through a Hana forest and holding still and not tripping on the roots on the path is really kind of tricky. And sometimes walking backwards. And then the wind affects you're holding the Steadicam. Have you used the Steadicam?
No. You think I got the budget for that? You've seen this room, haven't you? I mean, God, honestly, really?
Well, we have a little device that, it's a tiny size. It's not your big vest, with this monitor down by the waist. This is a little, so it's pretty lightweight. And we had one filming shot. We were on a pathway scene. I'm actually walking backwards, and 5 graduate or high school seniors are walking toward me with the gowns, and I'm walking backwards. And we had to shoot it like 2 hours, maybe like 20 times, because as soon as I would start walking backwards, there'd be a gust of wind. It would blow the camera. And we finally got one time, and that's all it took. And then we cut it and directed and printed it.
It's like,
and I'd say, thank goodness.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be frustrating.
Well, it is, and the cast did really good. I was afraid that they would be annoyed. Okay, Uncle, and they call me Uncle. Uncle, we're going. They weren't annoyed. I thought, well, you do something. Maybe it wasn't 20. It was maybe 10 times, but they just went back to their mark. They did it again, and they were so patient, and they were actually having a fun time.
It's kind of funny when the kids are more patient than the adults are these days.
I was more frustrated on that day of filming because I was responsible for filming, and then the breeze would come, and we would be 20 seconds into the shot, and then the camera would tip like this. I can't edit that.
Why not? Make Michael do the soundtrack for it. We can make a whole different movie.
Like a slat key.
Do some psychedelic.
Bending. Yeah, use my special effects pedals.
Perhaps a sitar.
Sure.
Well, that's the scene actually that you're responsible. You did the soundtrack for that whole scene.
For the walking scene, the path.
The pathway scene, yeah.
God. Well, okay. So now that we've talked about some of the creative processes involved, now I'm going to stay in the creative a little bit. But when we take our break, after we get back, I want to talk all about the story, the characters, how you developed them and wrote them. But
mention the actors' names as well.
Oh, hey, why not?
It's not just about, or is it all about me? It's just about me and Michael.
Well, they didn't show up for this interview, so I'm saying this is about you. Okay?
We're in control.
Okay. But getting back to like the actual film making process, and when you were filming, working with young actors, working on Maui, how did you? Because for me, I was filming a very dark kind of. I might show it to you later. Who knows?
I would be interested.
Because I'm always trying to hawk my movie on somebody better.
I'd love to see your movie.
Oh, thank you. But when it comes to scouting locations, Maui, for one, very beautiful, very hard to discern one space more beautiful than the next.
Right.
But when it comes to setting the tone for your story and this time of reflection and this time of nostalgia, how did you go about finding the places to frame that kind of emotion in your shots?
Right. It starts with the writing. When I'm writing, I'm already thinking a logistical, practical, easy place to film. So we're dealing with, we put it on private property. We want a place that's not too windy, that we have privacy, that's real conducive audio and video wise to film it, and it's comfortable for the staff, because if we go down to film in downtown Lahaina, we're not gonna, like Clint Eastwood, we're not gonna just shut down the whole town. We're gonna be filming amongst other people, and people will just stop and stare and ruin your shot. So we have to bring in our own people and pretend they're they're extras. So your location's a real important decision.
What was the hardest location to shoot in for Trade Winds? I like how pensive you're getting. It's like, oh boy.
I would say we did rent out this Wailea house from a wonderful, wonderful lady. I think that the most difficult scene was that one because we shot this basically last summer. It's been like a while. So the daylight is late. It doesn't get dark. It didn't get dark. It's a nighttime scene. So we kind of rented out this house. Beautiful, beautiful house. And it didn't get dark until like 7:40. And we've got about a 3-minute scene to shoot. And that can take a long time, like 8-10 hours. And so and you know, people were getting tired, so we actually filmed this in about 4 hours. So that was the hardest one because we didn't want to, for the homeowner, film past midnight.
Yeah.
You know, out of respect. You know, so I think that because it's about a 3-minute scene, and to get it done, and we had like 40 people on the set, and you got to keep all those 40 people happy and fed.
See, this is where I would have brought Michael back from North Carolina, give him a serving tray and a hat.
I would be willing.
Yeah, you know.
Beautiful home and beautiful location.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. I mean, if I had any excuse to leave North Carolina, I would have taken it.
Oh, no.
I am not dissing my home state, by the way.
It's a beautiful state.
It really is.
Love it.
But, you know, speaking of states, I mean, you know, because you're working under the 50th state, the most isolated state in the entire union. I gotta imagine that before you sat down to actually produce this, there was a little bit of a logistical nightmare as far as getting things, huh?
Yeah, it was pretty.
I like how humble you are. You're like, yeah, it's pretty. Meanwhile, Michael, probably sitting there very calmly, realizes that you were pulling your hair out the whole time.
Well, yeah, there was some. It's challenging to produce a movie. Yeah.
I'm betting that by the time you started the movie, you and him had the same haircut.
I lost all my hair. I used to have that much hair.
Wow. Yeah. I lost mine. I don't know where. In the war, perhaps.
In the war. Which war was that?
I have no idea. But you know, you had Michael on the other side of the country. Now, when did you even come over here for any of the filming?
No. That's what I think is ironic is, you know, I had the script, he sent me the script, and I read it from through, you know, completely through. Okay. But you know, as like I said, when he sent the video clips, he sent the scenes. I really can kind of connect with the characters that way, and just get the emotional component, which is so important with the music making, because you're reading a script, and yes, you're following along, and you kind of get an idea of the personalities and their motivations and that type of thing. But it wasn't until I actually saw the video and I really started to identify with the characters, kind of connect with them, and started to like really look forward to the next clip he was going to send me. And so yeah, I mean, the couple of the components of the music that I really wanted to emphasize was I just wanted a simple, melodic, evocative piece. I wanted it to be very simple,
kind of like me.
Yeah. It's something that I think that I didn't have any instruments. I didn't have any background arrangements. It was just me. I channeled a acoustic guitar through a Fender amp with no effects, no backgrounds, nothing, no arrangements at all. And I did that intentionally just to kind of create that simplicity of that particular scene.
You were really going for a stripped down sound.
I was going for the raw, basically old school kind of effect, and that's what I wanted to do. So, so less is more, I think, is what I had in my mind.
One of the things, Shaggy, we were talking on the way over here, is one of the secrets as a director. Excuse me. One of the secrets is people say, "Oh, I'm going to watch a movie," but the secret that the director understands is that more so you're listening to the movie.
Oh yeah.
You're listening to the music, the dialogue, the little sounds, even the bird sounds, all those things. So it's that audio and the score of the music that supports the video. Right? So it's. Once again, it's the audio that creates that emotion. Yeah,
when I create a piece of composition, and if it stands alone. In other words, if I have a piece of music that I'm creating, and it's kind of in a vacuum, it doesn't have any context to it.
Well, real quick, speaking of vacuums, we got to take a vacuumous break right now.
Okay.
We'll be back with Jeff and Michael and more in just a second. You're listening to KNUQ and Channel 55. And we are back, 88.5 and Channel 55, Akaku. Joining me in the studio, by the way, this is who I am today. My name is Shaggy, and this is the only way you have of knowing in a little green paper. Joining me is, go ahead, hold your signs
There we
up.
go. There we go.
Yeah, there's Jeff, and there's Michael, yay! And the movie that we're talking about today. Now, normally I would have this up on the still store or something, but I don't. So here, I'm just going to hold this up. This is the actual copy of Trade Winds. This is your film.
Thank you, Shaggy.
Okay, I've got to ask because, first off, the picture on front of it actually does look like a very typical graduation kind of scene. They're sitting around, the hands are up in the air, waving them like they just don't care. Whatever the kids are into these days.
Right.
Let's go through the basic premise of the story. Now, before, on the first half of the show, we talked about that this is kind of the finality of this group of people. Let's go ahead and set the scene. First off, who are these characters?
Okay. I'm going to go through here now. Hopefully I won't forget any.
Well, I'll give you the cheat. You can use
I will not forget any of the names here. Our lead actress is Michaela Yamamoto, who plays the character Michelle. The story is centered around her character.
Sorry, just had to make a quick adjustment there. It's a little weird.
And so, she's caught up in there, and she's a very, she's a very likable character. The audience is rooting for her, but there's something wrong on her graduation day. There's something incomplete, and she doesn't know what it is. She's looking through her journal. So in her last moments of high school, she basically does something that will affect her life forever.
Bomb threat?
Yeah, it might be.
Because that's what I did in my graduation. I was like, screw this, I am not walking. Michael, you're from North Carolina. You ever been to Bessemer City?
Yes.
You would call in a bomb threat through too. But okay, so she's got to this point that she's decided that, okay, something is not right, and then she sets upon this course to correct it. Now, is this where all the other character stories come in, or is it each character has kind of their own story?
Well, I think there's 4 main stories, and so they're kind of venting, and so she's just she's expressing her feelings, and then the other teenagers are expressing all theirs. So there's it's a culmination film. It's basically going to take you to the final scene.
Teenagers expressing.
So besides Michaela, we have our supporting, or excuse me, our lead male actor, Dylan Bodie. We have our lead supporting actor, Paris Nicholson Sano. Other supporting actors, we have John Asato, who's on the front right here. John Asato, Pradel Gihal, Whitney Akoba. We have Jim Oxborough, Cindy Mayo Davis. And then we have Cameron Akoba and Willie Akoba. We also have my assistant director was Nestor Delapac. My wife was associate director. Casting and production was Lilia Kane. We have production assistant Neil Sofu. I also got help from Lazada Photography, Michael Bissell, Michael Courier, musicians Michael Thomas, John Pillatin, and Waonze. Voiceover for the trailer was Neldon AZD Mamwad, and that is all.
Wow, that's kind of a big cast that you had to work with.
It's the main cast.
Okay, so now into the stories. What are our characters? Like, give us the main principal players in this.
Okay, so we've got Michaela, who's, she's obviously struggling with something. She doesn't know what it is. Very intelligent girl looking through her journal, very poetic, been writing since she was a kid. And actually the entire story is a flashback as her adult character is reflecting back on her youth and her high school graduation.
Really?
And so the whole thing's a flashback. Oh. And then we have the two couple of Whitney Akoba and John Asato, the two actors. They're in a relationship. And they're in a loving relationship. They
I'm taking that this was a Hollywood relationship, right?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, we get some drama in there. So
good drama or bad drama? Because when we say relationships and drama, usually means domestics.
Well, it's a little bit of both, but you have to see.
He's like, you're screwing it up. Don't give away my whole film. Okay, so they're two people that are in the committed relationship,
sure.
and when thinking back to high school, and maybe to your own experience, maybe
sure.
Michael's, I don't know, whichever one was the more popular brother. Thinking back to your own high school experiences, is there any part of yourself in any one of these characters?
Goodness, everything. The whole movie's about myself.
Really?
Yeah. But
so you were a girl lost without
But I wouldn't
answers?
tell anybody that. Yeah.
Wow.
People think it's about them. It's about
yeah, but that's what they say, though. When you're writing, you always write from your experience. So, like, which character in the movie, if you had to pick one and be like, man,
goodness.
that's the one that was me?
Probably the lead.
Really?
Lead, not that I'm a female, but trying to figure out what's wrong.
Wow. So you spent a lot of time in high school trying to figure out what's wrong, and that's what kind of led to this?
Yeah, and I think a lot of teenagers do. The one interesting thing about high school is that as adults, we've got our car, we have our house, we have our career, we've got our kids. That's what defines us. But all you have as a high school student is your identity. And so you're confused, and you're trying to figure out who you are. You're confused. You're trying to figure out, well, what's my purpose? And one of the lines in the film, and Whitney Akoba delivers it perfectly, and I won't be able to deliver it anywhere near, is that when we cross that diploma stage, we become a different person. And I don't know what person I'm going to become.
Wow. So did you feel like getting back to you, the writer, did you feel like when you crossed that stage, you became a new person?
Oh, my goodness, yes. That was the biggest change for me. And I think my attraction to this film was a huge change. In high school, I was kind of a nerd. I wasn't known to too many people. And it was at that time that I came home in graduation. And a graduation in Ohio is very different from Hawaii. In Hawaii, you've got the 30, 40, 50 lays. You've got all your family. You've got balloons. In
Ohio, you have Budweiser.
We wouldn't tell you we did that if we did, but did we do that? That was we did that.
Nothing that you admit to on this show is admissible in court.
That's right. That's right. We would never say that we drink. Yeah. But so in Ohio, it's just your little core family. At least it was for us. The five of us. And we have our graduation. We take some pictures in the parking lot, and we come home. So I just came home, and that was the time that I really reflected. And that's the time I wanted to determine that I was going to be a dentist. And I was really motivated for that. And then eventually moved to Maui, Paradise. And so here I am. So that was a big change for me.
Wow. So you wanted to be a dentist, but then you went into films.
Well, yeah, I've been a dentist for 1 years on Maui in Kihei. And I've been doing slideshows and wedding videos for about 10 years. And a lot of those slideshows were graduation slideshows. So that's where I got to know and really enjoy working with this group, this age group.
God. And so, well, I got to just, this is a completely off-the-cuff question. Which is easier, working with teeth or working with movies?
Definitely teeth.
Really?
Teeth is much easier for me. It's like it just comes second nature.
Hmm.
Dentistry is virtually, and I can't say this all the time, it's virtually stress-free for me. I mean, any profession will have some difficult days, but you
like
do,
today in this show? Yeah.
You're doing such a great show. You make us feel so comfortable for
You
being
kidding
on.
me? On this side of
we're
the
gonna-
desk, I'm standing in a bucket from all the sweat.
I don't think
It doesn't show.
But okay, so Michael, what is your day job then?
Do we want to go there?
Is it legal?
Yes, very legal.
Okay.
And actually, my profession has a lot to do with my childhood as well. You know, going in, I had a lot of changes, a lot of the similar struggles and challenges that these kids have with identity issues and just trying to figure out what my place is in the world and trying to identify which direction I wanted to go into. So I had some depression that I dealt with at a young age that I battled with, which wanted me to study myself, so to speak, and to try to figure myself out to make myself better. And so I'm a psychotherapist by trade, by day.
Wow. So what do you think so far of the host?
I will give you a synopsis at the and a
He's-
diagnosis.
In his mind, he is checking off the list for all kinds of disorders, you know. So you guys are like I guess I want to say highly educated professionals that decided to come together and let your hobbies be a job.
Yeah.
Was this an easy decision? I mean, dentistry, because I got to imagine dentistry is set up very regimented, you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
a schedule and everything like that.
No art in
Filmmaking
dentistry.
is like, dear God, what the hell can go wrong today, and
Oh,
how
yeah.
can I get through it?
every day on the set there's things that we don't expect.
Yeah. Did you ever notice that your dental expertise came in handy on the set?
It's a good question.
Yeah, see, you know, people on
It's
the
so
surface are
different.
like,
you know, it's so different. Dentistry is like 99% science. There's no artwork in it, and filmmaking is about 99% art and about 1% science. I mean, there's the logistics of filming and audio and everything else like that. But it's you know, I don't think so.
So, you know, 'cause I had a photographer on the show not too long ago, and she was saying that in her day-to-day life is very regimented, very scheduled. Everything is down to the second. So
Yeah.
when it came time to pick up the camera, it's her brain's free time. Like, it was the
Oh,
playground
yeah,
that it went to.
yeah.
Did you ever find that,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
filming was like, okay, you know, you're at work, you're sawing on somebody with an impacted root, whatever you dentists do.
All right.
But you're sitting there and you're working hard, and all that you can think of in your head, unbeknownst to your patient, is that you really wanted to be back out playing with your
Oh
camera.
yeah, I wrote a lot of the scripts and thought about, you know, as I'm working on my patients.
Wow. Is there
So-
any patient that you would like say directly influenced one of your characters?
I think everyone did,
Oh, okay.
you know, but I don't think there's one particular one.
Well, okay, since we're talking about the characters in the movie, Michael,
Sure.
you were writing the songs. Which character did you gravitate towards when you were writing?
Well, I think there was a couple relationships, key relationships. I think the father-son relationship was something that you don't really see a lot, too much of in movies. So it was refreshing to see that. And then, of course, the main two leads, you know, the romantic, you know, connection there. So that was kind of the love and trying to figure each other out, trying to figure themselves out and coming together. So, yeah, I think those two.
But I gotta imagine, being a psychoanalyst, you're watching this film going, oh dear God, they are doomed at 23.
Well, I mean, they're just trying to figure it out, like Jeffrey said, and you know, it's interesting because when I first saw the film, you know, I watched it all the way through, and then I immediately watched it again. It was like one after the other, and every time I watched it subsequently after that, I would pick out different things, and it's interesting because there's a scene at the beginning and of course at the end. It kind of bookends where they go to the pond and there's like there's ducks and I didn't realize until there was probably third or fourth time I saw it that there was a connection with our father, who actually when he had passed away, he grew up on a farm and around ducks.
Oh.
And so one of his last wishes in his later days was the weeks leading up to his passing was he needed to see the ducks. He wanted to go to the duck pond, wanted to see the ducks. He was very adamant with our mom to go and see the ducks. And it just hit me, it clicked. I was like, oh my gosh. So I asked Jeffrey, I said, were you aware of Dad and the ducks? And he was not.
Wow.
Which was amazing, you know. And so that was, you know, that's another relationship, you know, the father and the daughter. And it just, you know, yes, it's male-female, but, you know, the connection with our fathers.
You know, and that's just it. I'm noticing the more that we talk about this movie is essentially a movie about relationships and interrelationships.
Yep.
So there is like is there some big Dos Ex Machina at play here, or are all these stories just kind of rolling out on their own timelines naturally?
They're all rolling out on their own timelines. You know, I think that, you know, Michael and I are pretty emotional people. And, you know, you know, with the big, high effects, you know, movies that are made today, they're high budget.
Oh yeah.
So we have to stick to something because we're on volunteer production. You know, it's more of storytelling. So it's a big storytelling film. And, you know, I like to think that when someone tells a story, like I'm telling a story right now, I hope that they're interested. But generally speaking, when people start to tell a story, they like to hear stories.
Yeah.
So it's a storytelling.
And especially, you know, here in Hawaii, storytelling is an art form. It is a very big art form. Now, when you were telling the story visually, and you've got all these young actors, and they're playing this very critical moment, is there ever a moment that you just, let's be honest, did you ever have to step away from the camera because it just tied too closely to the emotion of what you wrote?
There was a time, and I'll tell a story, that one of our actress, Paris Nicole Cinsano, talks about a story. It's a Johnny Boy story, and I talk about every radio show that I'm on for this. And she delivered this 90-second solo story, and it just really blew me away. My wife helped to coach her on this special story, and she's recording it. She's going into the emotions, and when we got down with that scene, I was like, it was pretty emotionally draining, and I went over and I just kind of, after the scene was done, I said cut, and we took a break, and I just had to lay on the ground because it touched me so much. So
wow.
Paris Nicole Cinsano.
Jeez, man. And did anybody know this, or is this
they
this
all
is a
saw me.
director
It's just
moment?
like, oh yeah, well, a couple of people did, and you know, like, oh,
Jeffrey
Uncle
was
has to
weeping.
leave. Well, I wasn't weeping, but it was like, you know, it's like.
Hey, easy there, sensitive ponytail man. Okay, you know, as long as we're pulling straws, yours are the longest in this room.
Very true.
But you know, the actors and stuff, when they're seeing you go through this, I mean, I got to imagine that after you picked up that next take, they were like, oh boy, we better nail this one.
Yeah. You know, one of the tricky things, you know, and I'm learning, this is all first time for us, is that when you hear the traditional lights, camera, action, you know, I don't like it's like you're saying mark, set, go. Well, you know, your actors have to get into character. They have to separate themselves from who they are, and they have to become this character.
So did you, because I know some directors do this, they will take method acting approach and say,
Sure.
okay, look, when we're on the set, this is your name, this is your disposition, don't break character as long as you're on the set, no matter what happens.
Yeah, I didn't do any of that.
Well, I imagine because they're kids, and it would be a little cruel and unusual
Right.
punishment. But
Yeah.
but I mean, which is your favor of approach of getting the actors to really emote what that character
Right.
is written as? How do you do it?
I would say before the scene, taking them aside, and you know, we try to be quiet on the set with the camera and the crew, because we don't want that to be a distraction.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a meditative approach. You know, we'll start, one of the characters will talk about his brother who passed away in the war. So I'll start the scene. Okay, Pradell, who's the actual actor. No, I would say the name of the character. Well, Joe, which is the character. I'd say, Joe, remember, you know, how would you feel if your own brother really, in real life, passed away? And I would talk in a voice, you know, so the cameras are rolling. When you're ready, action. And then, you know, give them like 10, 20 seconds to start, and they start when they're ready. I mean, the fact that you go, action, it's like, it takes away. You don't want to distract the actors from their going into character.
Yeah, but I mean, as a director, you gotta whip the peasants every so often. I mean, I gotta imagine that you're on a power trip at this point. You're the director. You act. None of that, huh?
No.
Oh.
I think it doesn't. To me, it didn't work that way. It's more like, let's get you into character. I mean, the main thing that I'm learning, and I'm saying all this because this is my first time. I'm a very humble director. So the main thing I want them to do is feel that line inside of them. Feel how it feels. And whatever comes out is just going to be perfect. It's all about feeling. It doesn't matter what your body language is. It doesn't matter if you blink, and how you mannerisms and you do things with your eyebrows. All that happens is you feel it, and you deliver that line and forget about the cameras, and you're that character, and you put that feeling in there. Whatever comes out is perfect. When you watch a movie, I like to think that audiences want to feel emotion. So they're looking at that character to see if they're emotional. Like if one person cries, you're going to cry. If someone laughs, you're going to laugh. It's a mere imaging of it. So if that actor really feels that character and they're in that zone, then they're going to connect with that audience.
And did you ever have any difficulty getting people because
Yes.
I can imagine sometimes on the set you've got technical problems,
Yep.
you've got cables the wrong way, the camera, the monopod's broke, and then
Rain.
rain, and then dear God, rain, and then
Yeah.
you got to get everybody back up under a mood. I mean,
Right.
how do you reestablish the mood on the set after all of this chaos?
You just have to kind of get them in the zone. There was one time we were filming, we were rained out for like an hour and a half, and it was kind of a little bit frustrating for us. And then it was in a public area, and then there was someone weed whacking. Well, you can't really tell a person to stop weed whacking. I mean, unless you're a multi-million-dollar budget and you give them a $1,000 check. You have to wait until they're done.
Dude,
And
seriously, this is Maui. I will stop weed whacking for $20. I mean,
well, maybe I should have tried, but
I mean, just a $5. Hey, buddy, here you go. I mean,
right,
we are not big, high mock people here.
right.
But you have all of these little obstacles in the way. You get all the obstacles out of the way, and then your actors need to be corralled. Did you have an actor wrangler on the set?
Not so much, but my wife did help out with the acting coach because she was in drama she actually won an award when she was I think in college, maybe it was high school, but she was in drama, so she would help coach the actors.
Yeah,
but from my experience, it's like you can't say lights, camera, action. You have to keep the focus away from the cameras. Like if I'm in here, I'm not going to look at the camera. I'm thinking about you. I'm thinking about what I'm saying. I don't care about the camera,
Neither does our technical department, but that's okay, Actually, nobody cares about the cameras in this room. But no, I know what you're saying, because it does seem that when you're working, especially with younger actors and younger actresses, that the camera becomes almost a point of distraction for
Sometimes it
accomplishing
can.
what you're doing.
And that's a big problem in acting.
Wow. How do you I've heard this done before, but did you hide the camera at any point?
Not so much, but we use kind of the smaller cameras as to not be a distraction. And we tended not to use the boom mic too much, because when you're in a scene, you're trying to get in your emotion, and there's this big fluffy thing that's almost 2 feet, hovering, sometimes 9 inches above
like
your
a
head.
Skinned cat.
It's hard. I know it's hard. Is that going to follow me? How are you? It's hard to get. So we did a lot of lapel. We did a little bit of both in the audio, but I think we ended up using a lot of lapel.
Wow.
They would just click record, and then
a lot of filmmakers would not go with the lapel mic, and I
Go
guess
with the
it
boom,
made
yeah.
a little bit of a technical nightmare on
it
the editing.
was. There's a couple times I think the preferred sound, if you compare big budget films, is that you have a boom. But sometimes what we would do is do an ADR, additional dialogue recording. If it didn't turn out good, if the wind was we would take them aside and take them inside with one of these microphones. We would play the video, and they would repeat the exact tone in their voice into the professional microphone.
Ah, voiceover stuff.
Yeah, ADRs, yeah.
He's just like, ADR. I didn't want to do them, but stupid wind. Yeah. was going back and doing that frustrating after a while, though? I mean,
not to me. I used to worry about the actors, kind of. It puts in some time. Yeah.
But okay, now Michael, onto your side. So you're composing this music score as the movie is being filmed, right? Or after?
Well, during. Like I said, when he would send me video clips of the scenes, I would gradually see the story unfold. But my contribution to the music, there's lots of different artists that contribute to the music, and that's what I think. It just really is nice to see the movie just kind of has that continuity with the music. So there's different arrangements. I'm just a small contribution to it, to the bigger piece. But I think the music, to me, aside from my contribution, was just, it created such an emotional impact. And with any music, any movie that I see, if it has a good soundtrack, if the music is there, it connects you with the characters, it draws you in to the storyline. Mark Knopfler, my favorite guitarist from Dire Straits.
From the
70s and 80s, and Money for Nothing, most people know. But he's really adept in movie soundtracks, and I was drawn to the local hero movie in the early 80s, Princess Bride. Really inspirational, really evocative, really evokes feelings, has that simple melodic, music to it. But he was kind of my muse, so to speak, when I was creating this. And so that, to me, when I watch a movie, there's a lot of different wonderful, musicians in the movie. And so I think we all kind of work together, and it really brings the movie together, I think.
Real quick question, Jeff, because, some people do this, and I actually kind of did this when I did my own film. But did you ever play the score while you were filming so people would know the feel of the scene?
We did, and especially on the voiceovers. There's at the very opening scene, our adult Michelle is reflecting back, and so it's very poetic and inspiring of what she's saying. So when we first did it, we would have Cindy Mayo Davis, we would have her wear headphones to get the feeling of it. I think that's especially important, like when an opening scene, she starts off, when I was a kid, Daddy taught me all about the experiences, because when it comes right down to it, when we leave this world, all we could take with us are those experiences. And so you have to get yourself in the mood. So you got to hear that music first.
So what kind of experience do you think people will take away after watching Trade Winds?
Well, it's a feel-good movie. We hope you experience emotion. We did the premiere yesterday, and the common word is everyone was emotional. I mean, we were, it's a compliment when someone said, "Well, I teared up." And there were some, guys and girls tearing up, and that's the biggest compliment. So hopefully they feel good. There's a couple messages in the film, the one I mentioned earlier, that, the people who passed away are still alive in our heart. They're not in a cemetery. I mean, they're affecting us day to day. So it's a good feel-good ending. And when you're done watching the film, that's what I want. I want you to have you feel good.
Okay. Well, where can people see this now? I mean, we had the big debut last night.
Thank you for asking. Well, see, we're not putting into theaters. We're low budget. So we had a beautiful, wonderful premiere last night. So it's basically we're selling DVDs. Once again, it's not about the money, but we do have it on eBay. And am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, why not? I mean, this is my graphics today. Seriously? Do you want to talk about permissions at this point?
By the way, I'm still Jeff Thomas. I have not changed my name, or I haven't gotten married.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. We're married to my beautiful wife.
Yeah.
But we do sell it on eBay. The keywords are Trade Winds Film 2014.
Okay, neato. All right, well, we're getting ready to wrap up here in the final minutes. Is there any messages that you want to say? Any hellos, goodbyes?
No, but thank you so much for making us feel so comfortable. And my brother visiting from North Carolina, this is certainly a highlight of his visit.
Yeah, I'm going to have to show him where to get barbecue after the show. It's right down the street. It's wonderful.
I want to see your film.
Oh, okay, yeah. My film is all about depression, so it's a real happy-go-lucky film.
Definitely want to see that.
Really? Okay. Well, that's going to do it for our show today. So, guys, hold up your signs real quick.
Okay.
My guest today has been Jeff Thomas and Michael with the same last name. I, of course, have been Shaggy. Our director is, of course, me. me. Dana Fulton Kay is the producer of the show. We've also got Stephen Lutzik. He's the technical director. Lou Diliberto, he is the guy that does all of the engineering, and I think I've got all of my credits out.
Well, thank you to everyone behind the...
Yeah. Oh, and big thank you to Joel Agnew, too.
Thank you, Joel, for hooking us up.
Yeah. Well, tomorrow on the show, we'll be back for some more action-packed goodness and fun. But today, that's it. This show